Hello students, welcome to Sankalp Learning classes. So today we are going to discuss about force and laws of motion. So this is a physics topic in your textbook. Okay. So in this force and laws of motion, we will be discussing about that is what do you mean by force? What are the effect of force on a body? Then we will be discussing about the laws of motion like Newton's first law, second law, and third law. So, how Newton's law is developed for laws of motion that we are going to discuss. Types of forces are there like balanced force, unbalanced force. Then we have conservation of momentum concept. So, all the statements along with the examples, let us see. Okay. So, first, we will start with the definition of the force. So what do you mean by force? And in your day-to-day life, what all force effects can be seen? Let us start. So here our first slide is, okay. So here we have the introduction of the definition of the force. So one example we have with the example, if we understand the definition will be clear to you. See here, the muscular effort in the form of push or pull is needed to set a stationary object into motion or to stop an object moving. So what they are saying here, see, I can give you another example. That is, for example, if a 10 kg of bag is placed, so what we will do, to lift that bag, we will apply the muscular effort. We will apply the muscular effort with the help of our hand here, right? So what happens when you apply the muscular effort on that body? The body will change. So it was lying on the table or it was lying on the floor. So when you apply the force, it will start moving here, right? So not only the muscular effort, one more example I can give you, that is when you throw an object like ball or any object here, the ball will fall back. The ball will fall down here. So what happens here now? The gravitational force is acting on that. The gravitational effort is acting on the body. Therefore, the body is moving here, right? When the vehicles are already in motion, so when the brakes are applied, you are applying the brake in the sense you are applying the force here. The what happens? It was moving. When you apply the force, the object will stop. So what we can say here, we push a stationary desk to move it across the floor. So this push or pull on an object is called as what? Force. You can see here the definition of the force. Here it is written. This third point is important. That is, a push or a pull on an object is called as what? Force. Suppose if you assume this as a table, a book is placed on the table. When you apply the force on this, the book will start moving. The book will start moving. Okay. So this is what it was initially. It was at rest. So when you apply the force, it will come to motion. Okay. In the universe, we can see two states here, that is rest and motion. So when forces are acting on a body, the body will change the state. If it is in rest, it will come to motion. If it is in motion, it will come to rest. Okay. The push or pull on an object is called as what? Force. So this is a simple definition for your force, right? Next. So force cannot be seen, but its effect can be seen or felt. We cannot see the force here. We cannot see the force acting on the body. But here we can see and we can feel the force here, right? See, for example, if 10 kg bag is lying on this, okay, so a muscular, you will lift this bag with your hand. You cannot say how much force you are applying. You cannot see that. You cannot say that, right? But here the effect can be seen. So when you lift this object, the effect is what? It is coming to motion. So the effect can be seen. Similarly, sometimes if you are not able to lift this object, you can feel it. You can at least feel whatever the changes are occurring here, right? So we cannot see the force, but we can feel and we can see its effects. We can see its effect, what effect is occurring. So we can only see what all changes are occurring. Force cannot be seen, but its effect can be felt and seen here. Okay, so this is regarding the force on an object. Then next point we will see here. Next slide. You can see one example. So to understand the force, very beautiful example we have here. We can see this is which game it is. It is a snooker game. So in this snooker game, we can see that a muscular effort in the form of push or pull is needed to set a stationary ball. So how this game is there? So we will be having a table on that. In the center, they will be arranging that billiard balls, and with the stick, they will apply the force. So what happens? The billiard balls will get disturbed and it will start moving. So here again, the muscular force you are acting. So this push on and the stationary ball, it will bring to the from stationary to motion here, right? So we have some points here to understand what all effects can be seen by application of the force. See this point. So what all the effects are occurring on a body due to the application of force here? That is, if the body is in rest position, what will happen? The body will come to motion. If already the body is in a motion, it will come to rest when force is acting on a body. So this is very important changes which we observe in our day-to-day life when the forces are acting on a body. Okay, that is what? Rest to motion, motion to rest. See, so many examples are there. Unless and until some force acts on a body, you cannot bring the body from rest to motion or motion to rest. One or the other force will be responsible there. Suppose you have a big ground and one person will kick a ball in the ground. Okay, so it will travel. After traveling certain distance, the ball automatically comes to rest. So so here what happens? Some opposing force will start acting. Alenu wall illa, bere yaru stop madorilla, but to the ball come to rest. Why here? The opposing force is frictional force. So in this universe, whatever the changes we are observing, that is from rest to motion or motion to rest, that is because of one or the other forces are responsible there. So there it was a frictional force. When the brakes are applied, the frictional force will act on the tires here. Tire in between the tire and the road, therefore the vehicle will stop. So this is regarding what? The first point. Then we have the second point here, that is the size of the object. So size and shape of the object can be changed by application of force here. How we can change the size and shape of the object? That is, suppose if you have a balloon, just blow it. So when you blow it, it will change the shape. So whatever the blowed balloon is there, press from the outside. Okay, so press it from the outside. What happens? It will compress. So shape of the balloon is changed. Suppose if you have a rubber band, assume that you have a rubber band. So when you stretch, when you apply some external force on the rubber band, you can see the size of the shape and size of the rubber band is getting changed here. Okay, so this is the effect of force. Next, we have speed of the object. So the speed of the object is nothing but what? That is, when we apply the force, the vehicle will get accelerated. So you are accelerating in the sense what? Means you are accelerating your vehicle, means you are applying some extra force on that. Therefore, the speed of the object can be changed. So when brakes are applied, you are applying the brakes in the sense what? Again, you are applying the force here. It can be slowed down. It can be slowed down. So only the thing is what? When we apply the forces, the body will change the speed also. It will increase, it will decrease based on the effect of the force. Then the fifth and very important point, that is direction of motion of an object can be changed. So when we apply the force here, the direction of motion of an object can be changed. How? You can assume the cricket game here. So cricket game in which direction the batsman is applying the force on the ball will move in that direction. Correct. So if he is turning his bat towards right, the ball will move right side. If he is turning towards left, the ball will move left side. This is how the direction of the object can be changed by the application of force here. Then one more example I can give you for size and shape. So in home, you might have seen that is making of chapatis or rotis here, what your mom will be doing. So initially we will be having a flour. Okay, so on that we will put a oil, salt, whatever it is. So we will just add water and all. So if we keep all these things ready, the shape of the chapati will come? No, it will not come. So what we will do there? We will apply some external force on that. We will apply some external force. So when we apply some external force on that, the change in the shape of the flour, it will make a dough. It will come to the dough shape. Now you will take a small shape of ball shape of dough from that big one. Then when you apply force, then you can make it to the shape of rotis, chapatis, or whatever you want, right? So in our day-to-day life, each and every second of our life is affected by the force here, right? So remember these 5 points. This is important for your exam point of view. That is, what all changes will occur in a body, right? Then rest to motion, motion to rest. Size and shape of the body can be changed, speed of the object can be changed, and direction of motion of an object can be changed. This is how we can see the effect of force on an object. Then next we have the types of forces. See, we have mainly two types of forces. Okay, so in that the first one is balanced force. So before going to read this example, so actually this is the explanation part of the figure here. You can see this figure. Okay, Ilnodi. So what we have, a table is there. On the table we have a wooden block. So next, in both the direction, you can see F1 and F2 on the figure, right? So F1 and F2, what you are seeing here, that is, a person is pulling the object in one direction. The person is pulling in two different directions, right? So on the same wooden block, they are applying the forces, but you can see one is applying in the right side and another one is applying in the left side. So can you tell me in which direction the object will move? Can you guess it? So here, if both are applying the same force, the box, whatever it is placed at the center, it will not move. Either it will move in F1 direction or it will move in the F2 direction. So why it happens here? Because of the balanced force. So now we will see the explanation part. See here. Take a smooth wooden block which is having side hooks. So just now you see in the figure. Once again, I'll show it. So see. Next. So first let us see the explanation. So you have a wooden block which is having two hooks on both the sides. So you are placing this on a smooth table. You are tying two strings, strong strings with the side hooks. The block is to be pulled towards left and right with equal force. The block never moves here. The block will not move because, see, in the fourth point, they have specified that it is a equal force. It is a equal force. Therefore, the block will not move because force F1 and F2 are equal and opposite in direction. The forces are equal and opposite in direction. Therefore, the object will not move, right? I hope it is clear to you. You can see the picture and understand in a clear manner. Here we have the definition of balanced forces. See, what is the definition? When two equal and opposite forces act on a body at the same time, if the body continues to be in a state of rest or uniform motion in a straight line, the forces acting on the body is said to be balanced forces. The forces said to be what? Balanced forces here. Means when you are applying the two equal and opposite forces act on a body. So that two at the same time when two forces are acting here, the body continues in the state of rest or uniform motion in a straight line. And the forces acting on the body is said to be what? Balanced force. Okay. So here we have some example. Here you can see the figure also. See this. So this you might have seen in grocery shop or in the vegetable shops and all, right? See, this is also example for a balanced force. So main, you can see that on both the side, right and left hand side, we have three people. Okay. Here the explanation of three examples we have. So when we push a wall, it does not move. So why it will not move? Because one thing, it is no doubt that whatever the force we are applying, it is not sufficient to move that. Another thing is what? It is a example for a balanced force. Okay. So when we apply the force, in the same way, the ball will also exert some force on us. So both will be equal but opposite in direction. Therefore, the balancing force is there. The net force will be 0. The object will not move here. Next, we have when we try to push a heavy box on a rough surface, it does not move. Push applied acts in forward direction. This is balanced by force of friction between lower surface of the box and surface of the floor. So force of push and force of friction are balanced forces. Okay. And here we have the example of tug of war game. Just now you have seen here. See, in a tug of war, two teams pull a rope in opposite directions. If the rope does not move in any direction, in spite of the fact that both teams are applying forces in opposite directions, then the forces applied by both the teams are balanced forces. The forces applied are what here? It is a balanced forces, right? Next, here we have the unbalanced force. Okay, see this. This is an example for unbalanced force here. So in this game, what happens? Why one side the forces move, the body is in motion. Okay, so here we have the definition of unbalanced forces. So when two unequal forces in opposite directions, they are acting on an object at the same time, if the object moves in the direction of a larger force, the forces acting on the object are called unbalanced forces. So what do you mean by this unbalanced force? Balanced force to equal forces in opposite direction. Only this difference is what in case of unbalanced forces, unbalanced force unequal forces in opposite direction anta ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. Okay. And always you remember that when unbalanced force is acting, ಯಾವಾಗ unbalanced force act ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, the body will change the state. So balanced force act ಆದಾಗ body change of state ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. That is rest to motion, motion to rest ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. So when unbalanced force acts, that time the body will change the state from rest to motion, motion to rest. Okay. So remember, try to remember the examples so that the definitions will be clear in case of physics. In physics, we can understand the definitions, laws, and all based on the examples clearly. Okay, next. So here we will see some points which we need to be remembered, right? See here. When balanced forces act on a body at rest, when a balanced forces act on a body at rest, it remains at rest. So just now I told you, whenever balanced forces are acting on a body, the body will remain in the state of rest. When balanced forces act on a moving body, it continues to move in the direction with same speed. Okay. When balanced forces act on a moving body, it continues to move in the same direction with the same speed. So when unbalanced forces acts on a body at rest, it begins to move in the direction of unbalanced force. So as I told you, see, you may get in 1 mark questions like that is there is a change in the state of the body. That time here, what force is responsible? Exam options will be like balanced forces. Second option is unbalanced force. Third option will be only the force. Fourth option will be none of the above. So you need to choose here unbalanced force, because only when unbalanced force acts on a body, the body will change the state from rest to motion or motion to rest, right? Okay. The fourth point, when unbalanced force acts on a moving body, its velocity changes. So what all changes of effect we are seeing due to the application of force, that occurs only because of the unbalanced forces. Because of the balanced forces, we can say that the bodies will remain at the state of rest always. Okay. So next we discussed about for balanced force, unbalanced force. We discussed about the force and effect of forces. Then here we have the first law of motion. So see here, what we are discussing, that is Newton's first law of motion we are discussing. No doubt the laws of motion was given by Newton. No doubt the laws of motion was given by Newton. But in physics, all the laws, theories, derivations, everything here, it will be having some trial and error method. Means earlier someone will start with the concept, they will fail, then next person will come again, trial will occur. Then when it will be accepted overall, throughout the world, throughout the universe, the laws will come to the existence. Similarly, this Newton's laws of motion is also having some history. Okay, so it was based on the Aristotle and Galileo's experiment. So Aristotle, what he will say that, see the first point, Aristotle believed that continuous push or pull was needed to maintain motion of object. So this concept was rejected by Galileo. This concept was rejected by whom? Galileo. See what it is. Aristotle will believe that continuously we need a push or pull to maintain the object in the state of motion. So this concept was rejected by whom? Galileo. So why this was rejected by Galileo? See here. So Aristotle will say that continuous force is needed for So Galileo will say that when no unbalanced force acts on an object at rest, it continues in the state of rest only. Okay. So this he will say for the rest state. Next, he will give the statement for the motion state. When no unbalanced force acts on object moving with constant velocity, it continues in the state of motion. Okay, it continues in the state of motion here. This is according to whom? Galileo. So based on this only, we will have the Newton's first law of motion. Okay. So before that, he will prove his statement. Galileo will prove his statement. So in physics, we need a proof to give any statement. See this. So first I'll show you the figure. See this figure. You can observe two inclined surfaces, A and B, in the first part. Here what happens when you drop a glass ball from the top of a, what we can say here, from the top of a inclined surface, you can see the arrow mark. In the figure A, it is in the downward direction. Can you see here? In the figure A, it is in the downward direction. In figure B, it is in the upward direction. So when you drop the ball from the A inclined plane, it will go up in the B inclined plane. With what force you will drop it? With the same force it will go up. Now you see the figure 3. Okay. So figure 3, what we have, that is first you are dropping the ball from the first inclined surface. It will go up. Next, you will increase the slope, means angle increase material. Okay, angle increase material. That is when you increase the angle of the slope. So with what force you will drop it? With the same force it will go up. So in third line, in the red line, there also you see we are increasing the slope. The ball will come down and it will go up in the third part also. Next, last. Now you see fourth position of the ball here, down, bottom. Now you are dropping the ball from the top of an inclined surface. So when the surface is made completely horizontal, it will move in the straight line. It will move in the straight line only. So this is Galileo's experiment. So this experiment, here we have the what we can say points. A frictionless double inclined plane was taken. So just now you have seen in the figure, that is we have two inclined planes. So when a glass ball was released from the top of a left side plane, the ball traveled the same distance on the right side of the plane. When the slope of the right side plane was reduced, so in this figure 3 you have seen this all observation. So when the slope is reduced, the ball traveled the same distance on the right side plane. Okay. So when the slope was made 0, so in the fourth figure, see here, C option means figure C. When you make an inclined or complete horizontal surface, the ball will move in the straight line. The ball will move in the straight line. Okay, when the slope was made 0, the ball was found to travel forever. Means if it is what he just want to prove that by his experiment is, so once the ball is in one state of motion, it will continue that state. Okay, so as it is moving, it will continue the motion. So till what it will continue? Until some other force starts acting on it, the motion will be continued. This was given by Galileo. Okay, students, I hope the Galileo's experiment is clear to you. So based on the Galileo's experiment, we have the here also same figure. We have two inclined surfaces are there. Okay, and the object is moving same distance. So based on the Galileo's experiment, we have the Newton's first law of motion. So the statement is very clear from the Galileo's experiment. See, the statement is every body continues in its state of rest or uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled by an external force to change its state. So what they are saying here, the body will continue the state of motion or rest unless and until what? Some external force acts on the body to change the state here. This is Newton's first law of motion. Okay, we can take one example here. Suppose if you are doing some work here, means we will not take it as a work. Suppose if you are watching TV or you are playing with your phone, mobile games and all. So what you want to do, you want to continue that one. So when your parents will come and shout, the change of state occurs. So you will come from the gaming mood to the study mood. Okay, so whatever you are getting the shouting, that is nothing but the external force here. Okay, so just a common example here. Okay, what we want to say here is, so if the body is in the motion, it will be in the state of motion until when some external force acts on that. The body is in the rest, the body will continue the state of rest until some external force acts on it. In other words, all objects resist a change in their state of rest or motion. So this tendency of a body is called as what? Inertia of the body. So this first paragraph, we have the Newton's first law of motion. You need to practice and by heart this statement. So instead of by hearting, try to understand the definition so that you can remember it for a long term. Okay. So in whichever language it is convenient to you, you try to understand in your own language. Okay. So when you understand in your own language, it will be easy for you to remember for the long term. Otherwise, you will forget it. Okay. If you by heart or anything, so if you forget one word also, you are unable to complete the statement of Newton's first law of motion. Not only this, everything is same here. Okay, next we have here what property we are seeing, that is the body is resisting the change. The body is resisting the change. Change in the sense it is resisting. Resisting means opposing to come to rest or to come to motion. So whatever this property you are seeing in the body, this is called as what? Inertia. This is called as what? Inertia of the body. Inertia is nothing but what? It is the tendency of the body to be in the state of rest or to be in the state of motion is called as what? Inertia. It is called as inertia. Okay. So remember the definition of inertia. It is the tendency or the property of a body to oppose the change. So what it is opposing? To change the state from rest to motion or motion to rest. That is Newton's first law of motion as well as inertia. There is a slight difference between Newton's law and this inertia. Newton's first law says the continuous force is required, continuously the body will continue the state of rest or motion unless and until some external force acts. So here the whatever the resistance body is showing or opposition the body is showing, that property of the body is called as what? Inertia of the body. So here we have the clear definition of inertia. The tendency of a body to oppose any change in its state of rest or uniform motion is called inertia of the body. It is called as what? Inertia of the body. So Newton's first law of motion is also known as what? Law of inertia. Newton's first law of motion is called as law of inertia. Then we can divide the law of inertia into three types. That is inertia of rest, inertia of motion, and inertia of direction. We have three types of inertia here, that is inertia of rest, inertia of motion, and inertia of direction. So now let us discuss one by one all the definitions of that is inertia of direction. Let us discuss the definition here of all the three types of inertia along with the example. See, the first type is, that is inertia of rest. So what is inertia? We know inertia is nothing but what? It is the tendency to oppose. So inertia of rest ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, it is opposing. What it is opposing? To change the state from rest to motion. The body is opposing the state. It is already in the state of rest. What it is opposing? To come to the motion state. That resistance or the opposition offered by the body is called as what? Inertia of rest. So here, the tendency of a body to oppose any change in its state of rest is known as what? Inertia of rest. So here we have very best example for our inertia of rest here. See what happens here. I think you might have seen this in TV or somewhere. That is, you can take a glass, on that you can keep one square, some what we can say, card sheet or something. On the top of that, means in the center of the glass, and on the top of that card, you just place one coin here. You just place a coin here. So when you apply sudden force with your finger, you can see the figure here and try to understand. So when you apply a frick, that is one small force on the body, that on card here, the card sheet. So card sheet will move forward, but the coin will fall in the glass itself. So this is the example for inertia of rest. So what they want to say here is, the body, the coin is in the state of rest. So when you are applying that force on the card sheet, the body will come to the same position, means that coin will come to rest. It is at rest, therefore it will fall down instead of changing its state from rest to motion. So if this is complicated for you, you can see here one more example. See here, when a bus suddenly starts moving forward, the passengers in the bus falls backward. So you might have experienced this one. This experience ಮಾಡಿರಬಹುದು. You may sit in a train or bus or any moving vehicle. Okay, so initially the bus or any vehicle, it is at rest. Suddenly bus start agatte. That time here we can say that the body, the passenger's body will fall backward. So why it will fall backward? See, you are adjusted for the rest position. So when suddenly the changes are occurring here, that is from rest to motion, the body wants to be in the state of rest. Therefore, it will fall backward. It will fall backward and the bus will start moving. So after some time or some seconds, the body will adjust it for the motion. Here you can see the explanation written here. Lower part of the body of the passenger being in contact with the floor of the bus come in motion along with the bus. Upper part of the body remains at rest due to inertia of rest. Hence passenger falls backward. Here. So what they are saying here, the lower part of the body of the passenger is being in contact with the floor of the bus, which come in motion along with the bus. And the upper part of the body remains at rest due to inertia of rest. Okay. Hence the passenger falls backward. So this is one example. Here we have one more example. See here, the carpet is beaten with a stick to remove the dust particles. Okay, you might have seen this also. See, when we are, you can take carpet is beaten, or you have a wet cloth. Suppose in home you might have seen this one. So you have a wet cloth irutte. Before putting it for the drying, we will just apply some force. Correct. Then we will put it on the rope here. So when we do that, here the water particles will come out of it. Correct. And same way, when you are beating a carpet with a stick, so what happens? The dust particles are coming out. Why? Because of inertia of rest. See, when the carpet is beaten with a stick, the fibers of the carpet come in motion and hence move forward. So when you are beating the carpet fibers, means the carpet particle, whatever the contents are there, it is moving forward. In the same time, whatever the dust particles are attached to that, it is trying to be in the state of rest. Therefore, it will fall down from the carpet. See here how the physics and the physics concepts are applicable in all the phenomena or day-to-day activities of our life. This is because of what? Inertia of rest. That is, the dust particles are coming out of the carpet. That is because of inertia of rest. See, one more example we have. When a tree is vigorously shaken, some of the leaves fall from the tree. Okay, so you can see this also in your day-to-day life. So when you are vigorously shaking the tree, the branches of the tree come in motion. So what happens when you are moving that? The branch of the trees are coming in motion, and the leaves tend to continue in their state of rest. Therefore, it will get detached from the tree branch and it will fall down. This is also what? The leaves are trying to be in the state of rest. Therefore, it will fall down. The branches will adjust its motion. Therefore, it will start moving. This is what means which part of the object is in the contact with the directly in contact with the force, it will come to motion. But the part which is attached to the next one, that will try to in the state of rest. Therefore, the phenomena are taking place like carpet, dust particles, and the leaves detaching from the tree, etc., etc. Right? Okay. So next, second type of inertia we have, that is inertia of motion. See, that is so when we understand inertia of rest clearly, inertia of motion will be easy for us to understand, because there we will specify that it is what it is. It will resist, it will oppose to change the state from rest to motion. Here it is reverse of that, that is, it is opposing the state from motion to rest. That's it. Okay, see the definition. The tendency of a body to oppose any change in its state of uniform motion is known as inertia of motion. It is known as what? Inertia of motion, right? So this is inertia of motion. We have again examples for your inertia of motion. See here. Passengers fall forward when a fast moving bus stops suddenly. So here what is happening? That is when in the rest what we have seen, the passengers are falling backward when the bus will start moving. Now here the condition is what? The bus is already in motion. Okay, the vehicle is already in motion. When suddenly it will stop, you might have experienced or seen this one, the body will fall forward. Why? Because the body is adjusted for the motion. To oppose that, you will experience the jerk. You will experience that jerk. Therefore, you will experience the forward movement when you are traveling, and the sudden brakes are applied. The lower part of the bodies of the passengers come to rest as soon as the bus stops. So your legs or the feet are in contact with the bus. So as soon as the force acts on that, it will come to rest. But the upper body, what happens? It takes a fraction of time to adjust the change. Therefore, the opposing motion we can see here. So these are the whatever examples are there, these are important. And if you see in your book, textbook, at the end we have some questions based on the types of inertia and the examples. Okay, they will give you one picture, means one example. So that is when a carpet is beaten, the dust particles are coming out, the luggages are tied to the bus or the vehicles. Why it is so? So the passengers are falling forward or backward. You need to remember, forward it is what? More inertia of motion. Backward it is inertia of rest. So don't forget that, don't get confused also. See, a person falls forward while getting down from a moving bus. So this you might have not experienced this, but maybe seen this one. Okay, don't try to do this experiment also. Okay, students, see here. So when the moving bus or the train or moving any vehicle is there, if the person is trying to come out of it, okay, a person falls forward when he is getting down from the moving bus. So why he will fall forward? Because as the foot of the person touches the ground, the lower part of his body comes to rest, while upper part of his body remains in its motion, due to inertia of motion. So understand this example clearly. A person falls forward while getting down from a moving bus. Why? Because of inertia of motion. Here we have the next example. Luggage is usually tied. The luggage is usually tied with a rope on the roof of the buses. Okay. So why the luggages are tied here? Okay. In simple day-to-day life, if you ask a common person or a common people, what they will say? So it should not fall when it is taking a turn or when brakes are applied, etc., etc. But what is the physics behind that? See, explanation part you can see here. When a moving bus suddenly stops, luggage on its roof tend to continue in the state of motion due to inertia of motion. Okay. Hence, luggage falls down from the roof of the bus. Similarly, when a bus suddenly starts, luggage tends to continue in the state of rest and hence fall down from the roof. To avoid luggage falling down, it is tied. See here, right? So bus when suddenly stops, the luggage on the roof tend to continue the state of motion. That is because of inertia of motion. So because of that reason, the luggage will fall down. Similarly, when a bus suddenly starts, the luggage tends to continue in the state of rest. Therefore, it will fall down from the roof. So you can explain this example based on inertia of rest and inertia of motion also. Okay. If it is only for asked for 1 mark, you can go for any one inertia, that is either inertia of rest or inertia of motion. If it is asked for 2 mark, you can explain based on both, that is inertia of rest and inertia of motion. To avoid luggage falling down, it is tied. Okay. So in both the cases, the body will fall down only. How we can explain with the help of inertia. See here we have a picture. You can see this, how the luggages are tied. The next type we have, that is inertia of direction. The tendency of a body to oppose any change in its direction of motion is known as inertia of direction. So what is inertia of direction here? The tendency of a body to oppose any change in its direction of motion is known as what? Inertia of direction. It is known as inertia of direction. Okay. The tendency of the body to oppose the change. What it is opposing? It is opposing the change to change the direction. So this, again, you can experience this in a moving vehicle. So when you are sitting in a moving bus or moving car or any vehicle here you can experience that body when you are taking a turn. Okay, you can assume that U-turn is there or some curving road is there. You might have experienced that the body moves in the opposite direction to the upward direction of the vehicle. Okay, your body will move. See, here we have the example explanation. When a fast moving bus negotiates a curve on the road, the passengers fall towards the center of the curved road. Okay, so when it is taking a curve, the passenger moves towards the center of the curved road. So this is what this is due to the inertia of direction. So how we can explain this? This is due to the tendency of the passengers to move in a straight line due to inertia of direction, here. Okay, see this. Next, see the sparks produced during sharpening of a knife against a grinding wheel leave the rim of the wheel gently. This is because of inertia of direction. Here. Okay. So let us compare inertia and mass. So what is the relation between inertia and mass here? See, if you consider two stationary objects with different masses, you can assume a ball. We will assume we have two balls. One is a tennis ball and another one is a football. Suppose if both the balls are initially at rest and you want to lift both the balls. Okay, where we need to apply more force here? For the football, right? So mass is more force you are applying. Now we will assume that tennis ball is also moving, football is also moving, where you require more force to stop. So obviously to stop the football. So what they want to say is more the mass, more is the inertia, less the mass, less is the inertia. So see the second point. With the same amount of forces, we cannot move both objects. We cannot move both objects. So larger one requires more force than the smaller one for movement. Larger one opposes more to the change in state of rest than smaller one. Okay. So what we have, that is more the mass, more the inertia, less the mass, less is the inertia. So fifth point is our conclusion here. That is inertia of body is equal to mass of the body. It is equal to mass of the body. So next we have the momentum. The quantity of motion possessed by a moving body is known as what? Momentum of the body. Okay, the quantity of motion possessed by a moving body is known as what? Momentum of the body. So momentum, it is what? It is one of the physical quantity in physics. So where we use here, when we have mass and velocity, the product of that mass and velocity is called as what? Momentum. So you have here momentum concept now. So now we are going towards the what? Second law of motion. So we discussed first law. First law, what it is giving an idea? It is giving an idea of inertia. So second law, it is giving an idea of both momentum and force. So let us see momentum. Momentum is a physical quantity. Okay. It is denoted by the letter P here. It is denoted by the letter P. So what is momentum? Momentum of the moving body is proportional to mass of the body and velocity of the body. Momentum is what? It is the product of mass and velocity of the body. Hence, we can say momentum of the body is equal to the product of mass of the body and the velocity of the body. Okay, just now I gave you a example, that is we have two different masses objects. So where we require more force, we require more force for the larger mass. Similarly, one more example we can take. Consider two objects which is having same masses. Okay, one is moving very fast and other one is moving very slow. Now where you require more force, you require more force to stop the object which is moving with higher velocity. That is called as what? More the velocity, more the force required. So the conclusion is what? The product of this mass and velocity is called as momentum. So mathematically we can write momentum P is equal to m into v, where P is momentum, m is mass, v is velocity. So here this momentum is called as what? It is a vector quantity. It is a vector quantity. Okay, in the motion chapter we will discuss in detail about scalar quantity and vector quantity. Now just I want to tell you the definition of vector quantity. So in one more chapter we have motion, there we will see the definition of vector and scalar in detail. So here I just want to tell you what it is. Vector quantity is nothing but what? It is the quantity. It is the quantity which is having both magnitude and direction. Magnitude in the sense it is having some value also. It is having some direction also. So such type of quantities are called as what? Vector quantities. Vector quantities. Okay. And the SI unit of this momentum is called as kg meter per second. Kg meter per second. So mass is expressed in terms of kg and velocity is expressed in terms of meter per second. So kg meter per second is the SI unit of momentum. Okay. right? So if momentum is clear, so to see the definition of Newton's second law, we require some idea. So that we are learning now some basic points. First, we learned about momentum. What is momentum? The product of mass and velocity is called as momentum. Here we have the change in momentum. So how we write change here? See, for example, if you go to shop, you will take a 5 rupees chocolate. You have a 10 rupees. So what is the change in the value? That is 10 minus 5. 5 will be the remaining value. Okay. So that is what change. Change how we do? Final minus initial. Means suppose I can draw one figure here, that is assume that. So consider this one rope, you can say here. So we will name it as A and B, and up to this point, up to X point, A to X, the distance is or the length is 2 centimeter, and AB length we have, that is as 10 centimeter. It is 10 centimeter. What is BX here, students? BX is nothing but what? AB minus AX. So total minus this AX. Okay. So similarly, change in momentum, how we define change in momentum? We define it as final momentum minus initial momentum. Change in velocity we say. So change in velocity, how we do? Final velocity minus initial velocity. Like that. Change in momentum is given by final momentum minus initial momentum. Like any change in momentum is calculated as final minus final and initial momentums. So we will denote the change in momentum as delta p. Can you see here the triangle shape? It is called as change. So in physics, whenever we are specifying change, we will use this symbol, that is a triangle, that we call it as delta. We call it as delta. So we will take it as this delta, or we will use this delta. Sometimes we will write only D. So these symbols are used for what? Change. So change here. So here change in what? Change in momentum we have. That is change in momentum is equal to final momentum minus initial momentum. Okay. So change in momentum, final momentum and initial momentum. Next we have the next term, rate of change of momentum. So what is this rate of change of momentum? See here, students, always you remember that in physics, when we use rate of change in the sense we are changing the quantity, or the quantity is changing with respect to time. So what is change in momentum? How we write change in momentum? Change in momentum is written as, that is, just now we have seen final momentum minus initial momentum. So rate of change of momentum is written as, this momentum is changing with respect to time. It is changing with respect to time. This is called as what? Rate of change of momentum. As I told you, this momentum is what? Momentum is the product of mass and velocity. It is product of mass and velocity. So change in momentum, for final momentum, we will take it as mass into final velocity. For initial momentum, we will take mass and initial velocity. mv and mu. Final velocity and initial velocity. So final momentum is mass into final velocity. Initial momentum is mass into initial velocity. So regarding velocity and its definition and the points regarding velocity in motion chapter we will see. Now you just understand the momentum. P1 is initial momentum, that is given as m into u. See the second point. Final momentum is written as P2. It is written as m into v. Then change in momentum is written as P2 minus P1. It is written as P2 minus P1. Okay, next. What is P2? It is mv. What is P1? It is mu. What is common here? M is common. So I am taking m outside. Third point, taking m common inside the bracket, we have v minus u. V minus u. This is called as what? Change in momentum. It is called as change in momentum, right? Next, we have time taken to change the momentum is, suppose if it is t, then the rate of change of momentum can be written as m into bracket v minus u divided by t. So this is rate of change of momentum. Okay, next. So second law of motion, that is the change in momentum of a body per unit time, it is directly proportional to the unbalanced force acting on the body, and change in momentum takes place in the direction of the unbalanced force on the body. So this is the definition of second law of motion. So just now we discussed what is change in momentum, final momentum minus initial momentum. What is rate of change of momentum? That change in momentum is changing with respect to time. Okay. Now, so what they are saying, second law of motion is, this rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to what? The applied force. It is directly proportional to the applied force. That is the definition for your second law of motion. Okay. So second law of motion, the rate of change of momentum is proportional to the applied force. And in addition, we have one line here. The body moves along the direction of the applied force. See here, students, we know that. For example, here the ball is placed. Suppose if I kick the ball in this direction, in which direction the ball moves? The ball moves in this direction. When I apply force in this direction, the ball will move in this direction. So in which direction I am applying the force? In the same direction the ball is moving here. So when which direction the unbalanced forces are acting, the body moves in the same direction, is called as what? Newton's second law of motion. So I'll repeat the statement. The rate of change of momentum. See the expression down I have written dp by dt. So this dp by dt is called as what? Rate of change of momentum. It is called as rate of change of momentum. So change in momentum is denoted by dp. Just now I told you. So when we have change, that to what? It is small change. Adu small change irutte. Small change idaga dp, delta p anta baritivi. That is change in momentum is proportional to the applied force, and the body moves in the direction of the applied force here, students. Okay. So in the today's class, we discussed about Newton's first law, second law, types of inertia. Actually, now the second law, we have the derivation part for this. So this F is proportional to dp by dt. We will derive it is equal to F is equal to m into A. So that we will see in the next class. So in today's class, students, what all we discussed, did we? First, we discussed about the force. What do you mean by force? What all effects will occur on a body due to the application of force? Correct. So 5 points we have. We need to remember the 4 points here. Force can change the state from rest to motion, motion to rest. Size and shape of the body can be changed. Speed of the body can be changed, and the direction of the body can be changed here. So balanced force, unbalanced force we discussed. Balanced, equal forces in opposite direction. Unbalanced, unequal forces in opposite direction. After that, we have Aristotle theory. According to Aristotle, we need continuous force to maintain the body in the continuous motion or continuous in the state of rest. But Galileo, what he will say? He will say that no unbalanced force should act continuously to keep the body in the state of rest or to keep the body in the state of motion. So based on that, we saw one experiment also. So based on Galileo's experiment, the Newton's first law is developed. Every body continues to be in the state of rest or uniform motion in a straight line unless some external force acts on it. And this is property only. This property in the sense the body is opposing here. That opposing property of the body is called as what? Inertia. So in inertia, we saw three types: rest, motion, and direction. Rest alone nodidvi, it will oppose the change, to change the motion, state from rest to motion. In motion, what we saw, the body is opposing the state to bring it to motion here. In direction, what we discussed, it will oppose the change in direction. Then next we discussed how inertia and mass are related. What is momentum? What is the unit of momentum? Then what do you mean by change in momentum and rate of change of momentum? Then next, last point for today's class is second law of motion. The rate of change of momentum is called as what? The rate of change of momentum is proportional to the applied force is what? Second law of motion. Okay. So in the next class, we will continue with the derivation of Newton's second law of motion. Okay, students, thank you.